Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller. I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Todd Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always, and if you don't already, please like, subscribe, and follow along so you don't miss any updates or episodes. Today, I wanted to talk about an idea and a quote and just a line from the book Wild at Heart that I've been reading, and how it frames the idea and the concept that our identity sometimes can show us so much when things in our life are either taken away or stopped altogether. And the idea in the book, the question that the author poses sort of says, what do you do and what happens when the things you are most known for or most respected for or called upon for, what happens when those things go away altogether and everything falls apart and everything's taken away? And as I heard it, it really got my brain working overtime and thinking about the way, well, a few things. One, the way we identify with the things in our lives that we do and we have done, oftentimes things we've done for a long time. It also got me thinking about what happens when it all does come crashing down, or when you voluntarily take a step back and you no longer have yourself involved in it. What happens then? And the answer is by no means simple and straightforward, but it's one I want to delve into and one I want to encourage all of you listening to kind of think about in terms of your own life, because it can be so eye-opening, and I think it can do a whole lot of good for you, especially if you are struggling with thinking about who you are, what your place is in this world, and what types of things, identify you as a person and why you think they identify you the way they do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take this apart and let's dive in and get right to the bottom of this. So this idea of identity comes with no shortage of feelings and emotions that I have around lots of different things in my life. I identify as a dad, as a coach, as a speaker, an author, a firefighter, someone who is a community leader. Like, I have lots of things that I identify as, and a lot of them are situation-based, right? We identify as parents because we are parents. I think it's a pretty straightforward line to draw that if you're not a parent, you don't have children. That's perfectly fine, but the normal line that people draw in their brain isn't, oh, I identify as a parent even though I don't have kids. You might identify as someone who loves kids, or who someone was a great aunt or uncle or grandparent or whatever. But if you are not a parent yourself, well, let's back that up. If you're a grandparent, you have to be a parent. So let's back that up just for half a second. If you identify as something else, that's perfectly okay. But the natural line to draw is not necessarily between something you don't do or you're not involved in and that being part of your identity. And the thing that really got me thinking about this when I read it, the thing that really kind of sent my brain into overdrive was my identity that surrounds me or surrounded me based on my former position as the former deputy chief of my fire company. Now, it's no secret if you've been following along and listening along that I have had a lot of experience in the fire department. I joined when I was just a kid. I've been a member for 26 years, so I've spent 2.5 decades in the fire service serving my community and the communities of, around me, of the towns that surround my town. The last decade I have spent as a deputy chief, or had spent, and I recently resigned from that position, and I realized when this quote and this question came up in the book of what do you do when all the things that people know you for are stripped away and gone, what happens? And at first I thought, well, it kind of sucks when that happens. It's a really difficult thing to walk through. But the more I thought about it and the more I really unpacked the idea in my brain, the more I got to thinking that, yes, it might be a shock at first, and it's definitely an adjustment. It's nowhere near simple to walk through, especially if it's something you've been involved in for a very long time. But I think more than what you feel when the thing happens, when the identity is taken away, when that part of you is changed or taken away, more than that feeling, or maybe right along with that feeling, also comes some real clarity about what else you are meant to do in this world and what else it is that you feel like you can do and unlock within yourself to still be the type of person that you want to be. And there's two things about when things are taken away or when you change roles within an organization or within a position in your life. So the first thing that happens is you have to physically step down or So there's two things that happen whenever you stop doing something or you change the way that you interact or the way you show up at any given role. The first thing is that you have to have that change take place. That whole thing has to happen and the event has to start and finish. There's typically a lot of thought that goes into it ahead of time, and a lot of times on the back end, there's a lot of thought that follows up with that. And sometimes there's some regret of, I hope I didn't make the wrong decision. Now, we'll talk about that either later or in a different episode, about not regretting the decision you made, just making the decision and moving along and morphing along with it and adapting to it however you need to. The other thing that happens is you realize that even though you used to identify as something, and even though your role has changed in some way, that doesn't all of a sudden delete all the previous experience and all the previous knowledge that you have about this one thing or this one expertise, or in my case, this one officer's position. All of my knowledge and skill and memories and education doesn't just miraculously go away because I no longer have that title on paper. That is still part of who I am. Those things that I have built into myself, those things I have learned, and the type of person I am, and the person I have crafted and forged out of my experience doesn't all of a sudden just disappear because that title goes away on paper. I am still a leader. I am still someone who loves to work with people and lead people and talk to people. I am someone who loves to help educate people, and I want people to come to me with questions. I love when they do. I still love speaking to people and passing along valuable knowledge. And at the very core and the very heart of things, I am someone who still absolutely loves serving other people, serving my community, showing up when the alarm goes off and doing a good job for the sake of doing a good job and for the sake of protecting the people and serving the people who are basically our customers. So all of that doesn't change. That has been distilled in me over the past however many years, 26 years in the fire service, a decade as the deputy chief. That person that I've become doesn't vanish into thin air. However, my identity as the deputy chief has changed. I am no longer a chief officer in my fire department, which means a couple of things. One, it means that I don't make decisions like I used to. Two, it means I have a lot more free time because most of my time with the fire department now is taken up at calls and drills. And all the administrative stuff I used to do and all the behind-the-scenes stuff I used to do is not part of what I'm doing anymore with my time. So those things obviously changed. But the other thing that's changed is people in town, when they look at me, maybe still right now, it's still pretty new and people still think, some people haven't heard I resigned. Some people might think, he is still a chief officer or whatever it is just because they haven't heard or they don't know or haven't talked to me yet. But eventually it will get to the point where people don't say, that's Todd, he's the deputy chief. Now, what I have pulled out of this is a couple things, and bear with me here because it's going to be a little bit of a circuitous route to get to where we started. But so my identity as the deputy chief is one that will not be removed from me in the term of my past self. So my knowledge, my skills, the things that built me up during that time in my life, and the things that I use to educate myself and better myself and serve myself and the other people in town and my other members and help them learn and educate other firefighters in the department, that has all stayed. That has all stayed with me. I am still that whole sum of my parts in my education. However, the identity of me, what people know me for, what people call upon me to do, no longer centers around the fire department, or at least the chief officer / administrative side of the fire department. And that, at first, to me, I was like, well, that's kind of awful because, now that's a really big part of who I was. But, man, then I started to think, it's a really big part of who I was, yes, but it doesn't mean that I'm not the same caliber of person just because the title has gone away. Now, in the future, people will not identify me in their own brains as the deputy chief, which is fine. But think of how many other beautiful things that leaves the door open for them to identify me as, and myself to identify as, on the backside of that. It literally has freed up time in the actual clock sense of my calendar being less full because I'm not in charge of as many things as I was fire department-wise before. And also, on the figurative side, it has freed up so much space on my calendar to start to be known and relied upon and identified as for other things, which is so beautiful. Because I have said before in a previous episode, if it doesn't serve you, if it no longer serves you, never be afraid to let it go. And it's not that the deputy chief position didn't serve me anymore. I still love to serve my community. It's just it was time for me to let it go. But that doesn't mean I had to let go of being a person who is capable of being there for my community, for my friends, for my peers. I still get to do that even without that label. Now, the other part of the quote, or the other part of the passage in the book says, what if everything you were known for and praised for was all of a sudden taken away or all of a sudden vanished? And that's the other part of this I want to delve into and dive into head first. So I don't mean praise as like, yay, good job, Todd, pat on the head, pat on the back. Like I never look for praise. I don't need the pat on the back. I don't need the attaboy. I don't need the public award and the handshake and the ribbons. I've never been about that, both in the fire department and otherwise. I will happily be the person who sends someone some money at Christmas time and just does it anonymously. I love giving anonymous gifts. It makes my heart soar to do something for someone and just sneak off into the darkness and not let anybody know it was me. It makes my heart so happy to do that. So I'm not looking for the accolades, the public recognition, but praise in general. People in town have come to rely on me, and which is a form of praise, for a lot of things, and a lot of those things centered around my identity as the deputy chief. The beautiful part about that is even though I have resigned, even though in the fire department sense I'm not the person at the top who's making the administrative decisions anymore, who people can identify in the literal sense of the word as the deputy chief. Somebody else's name is on the dotted line now, not mine. But when the praise, the things I've been praised for, when they all go away, it got really quiet, but it only got quiet for a minute because I realized after talking with people and after interacting with people that the things I have been praised for are not identified by the deputy chief role of the fire department. Does that make sense? So my identity as the deputy chief does not make me who I am as a person. Who I am as a person made me a good fit for that role. That's true. But even though that has gone away and that name on the dotted line has changed and my name no longer appears there, that doesn't change the things that I am able to bring to the other people in my life. And I guarantee every single person listening right now, the same is true for you. Whatever identity you have, whether it's a job title at work, whether it's a job title or a position title or a volunteer title within an organization, whether it's a role within your family, your church, your PTA, your PTO, your bowling league, your golf league, I don't care where it is. Every single person listening right now, you are not identified by what people see on a dotted line or a certificate or a roster or anything in between. Your praise should come for your true identity deep inside you. The things people come to rely on you for, they should be present within you no matter what your title is. Let me say that again. The things inside you that people praise you for and people can come to rely on you for should never, ever just solely be tied to your title. It shouldn't matter what's written on the line. It shouldn't matter what's written on the certificate. It shouldn't matter what your job title is. I have met tremendous leaders. I mean tremendous leaders who on paper have absolutely no authority. They are just regular run-of-the-mill people without a fancy title, without any quote-unquote identity where people have come to assign that relationship between, hey, I can rely and praise this person for this because of their title. I've met amazing people who have no title, but they can still perform to such a high standard and bring such amazing things to people That's what I want you guys to hear. I want you to realize and remember that it doesn't matter what it says on paper. You, the person you were carved out and cut out to be, all of your experiences added up, the sum of all your parts put together makes you this individual being and person. And the idea is to still be that person no matter what the label or the identity is. I don't want you to ever lose sight of the fact that you are a tremendous gift to this world just because the title or your identity, quote-unquote identity, on paper changes. The goodness that you have to share in this world, the beautiful light that you have to shine into other people's lives, the things you have come to be praised for, they can still be present and within you, even if the identity goes away. So when the book said, and when the book reads, what happens when the things you are praised for and the things you are known for are taken away and stripped away and you're left standing there barren, the answer is you dig deep within yourself and you figure out what it is that is the most valuable part of you that you can give back to other people regardless of what it says on a dotted line, on the piece of paper, on the roster, or anything else in between. The title doesn't matter. You matter. So if you're struggling with this, if you are thinking about yourself and you're saying, I just got fired, I just got demoted, maybe even I just got promoted, but I got promoted to a position I don't feel like I'm as connected to, that's okay. If you are feeling at a loss for your identity because the thing you used to identify as has been taken away or changed in some way, that is okay, because when it's stripped away and everything that you were known and praised for is gone, what you are left with is the ability to look at the stark, naked version of yourself and look deep into it and say, here's what I used to be. This is the identity I used to have, and this is what people relied on me for. This is what people praised me for. And then now that my title has gone away, does my identity automatically change? Sure, on paper it does. But the identity you have as a person and a beautiful creature in this world to do things for other people and to serve yourself and to serve others and to be a light in this world and a helper and someone who works hard to do good things, none of that, period, none of that ever has to be tied to a label that someone writes on a piece of paper. Do you hear me? Please hear me when I say that. When everything you are known for, when everything you are praised for has been stripped away, you are left with what some people feel like is an empty husk of themselves because they tie too much importance and they give too much weight to the title on paper. Don't do that. If you're struggling and you're listening right now, look at yourself in the mirror and say that you are capable of difficult things and that good things are supposed to happen to you and you have goodness to bring to this world. It doesn't matter what it says on paper. I don't care if you're the CEO, the person who works in the mailroom, the person who sweeps the floors at night, or the person who stands outside and hopes that you're going to get a job there someday. It doesn't matter what it says on paper. You have beautiful gifts to bring this world. Your identity is not tied to a title or a label. Please hear me when I say that. Your true identity, the things that people will praise you for and rely on you for your entire life going forward, the things you can bring to the table, they are not tied to a label or a word or a title that you have been given. Period. End of story. You as a person, we as people, me and you and everyone else listening, we were built for more than titles. We were built and crafted and created to be more than a handful of words on a piece of paper that assign a label to us arbitrarily based on job performance or anything else. I may not be the deputy chief of the fire department anymore. But if one of my members, one of my colleagues, one of my peers calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning, one of the townspeople has an emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning, they will still get the same Todd Hiller who was willing to get out of bed, throw my gear on, and go help them to the best of my knowledge, the best of my skill, and the best of my ability and energy on their worst possible day. I don't need a title to know that I was built to serve other people. It doesn't matter if I ever have one again. I don't care if I never have an officer position role in any fire department for the rest of my life. I know that me, the person, Todd Hiller, the individual, the whole being that I am, was made for and was built to serve other people, and I will happily do that because it brings me joy, it brings me happiness, it makes me feel whole, and I have realized that and those things are my true identity. It is not the label. It is not the deputy chief title position. It is not the job position. It is not whatever it says on paper that identifies you. You should be identifying yourself by the things that you can hand out to the world and say, here I am, here are my gifts, this is what I was put here to do, let's go ahead and do them. I don't need a title to do this. I don't need any fanfare or trumpets or parades. I don't need to ride in on a white horse to save the day. I'll just show up and serve people. And whatever your gifts are in this world, whether you like to serve other people, if you are gifted in any of the creative arts, the creative areas, you like to paint, sing, draw, sculpt, if you love being a mom, a dad, a parent, if you love being a sibling, if you are a great resource for people struggling with addiction, if you are a doctor and a healer, I don't care what you do for a living. If you serve others by working in a trade and you work at people's houses when they need building remodeling or electricians or plumbers or carpenters, I don't care what it says on paper. You, every single person listening right now, has a giant set of gifts within themselves to bring to this world. And your identity is carved out of all those things, regardless of what it says on paper. When I resigned from the office of deputy chief, I did feel a little pang of sadness. I did feel that little pang and pull of, well, you're not the deputy chief anymore. You're not the person the school will call about all the events at the school to bring a fire truck there. And you're not the person that the town hall is going to call to coordinate your involvement with the town fair every Labor Day weekend. That's not you anymore, buddy. And I realized when I took a really hard look at that I wasn't in it for the phone call. I wasn't in it for the request. That's not the part that mattered to me. The part that matters to me is being someone who will show up and being someone who people know they can rely on regardless of my title. If they call the new deputy chief and he says, I'll see if somebody can do it, and he calls me, they know, the townspeople know, that I'll come running. They know that about me because I have done that and I have had service to others so deeply as a part of myself, especially in my own town and my community, for a very long time. And you can be the same way. You don't need to do it for the phone call. You don't need to do it for the request or the ask or the parade. You don't need to show up because you think that they should call on you. Don't be in it for the ask. Be in it for the work. Be in it for the service. Be in it for the performance you can bring to them, no matter what your title or position. So no matter what your identity is, no matter what it looks like on paper, do me the favor of remembering this and hearing me when I say this right now. You can prove that you have the power to perform and the ability to draw praise from people, even without a title on paper saying that you're the person supposed to be responsible for that. I have met some amazing people in my life who did not have a title whatsoever. I have also met some people with these big, glorified, fancy titles who were the worst type of people you could meet. They were empty and hollow, and they were just plastic painted-on versions with a smile and a nod and, oh, yes, everything's great, and it was just lip service. They did not have the ability to perform or to serve or to help. They were just there with the title or a pretty face or the rubber stamp or whatever it was. So don't hang your hat on your identity, or don't hang the hat of your identity in general on the thing that is written down about you. Hang your hat about your identity on the things that you can bring to this world, regardless of what people see when they look for your title. A great person once said that integrity is the choices you make and the things you do and the decisions you make when no one else is looking. That's what I want you to do. Remember that your identity is not a checkbox on a form. Your identity is not a resume. Your identity is not your cover letter for a job you're applying to. That's not who you are as a person. That's something you're applying for or something you've done. That's a position in time that you've held. Yes, at one point I was the vice president of purchasing for this great company. Awesome. That doesn't mean for the rest of your life that the only thing people can rely on you for is to be the vice president of purchasing for ABC Clothing Company. Period. End of story. You are made of much greater stuff than that one thing. So never, ever forget that. So I'm going to close this with a challenge. I want you to sit down right now once this episode ends, and I want you to think, what would you do and who would you be and what would people praise you for if the things people previously praised you for and the things people have come to rely on you for were all stripped away? You had that chance to look at yourself without any title, without any label. Where would your praise come from then? What is it in you that you push out into this world would be the thing that would stand out to other people and make them know that, oh, hey, when I need X, Y, and Z, this is the person I can call. I know that they can always come through. I can always rely on them. I can praise them, and I can rely on them to deliver things for me in this area no matter what. No matter what. That's my challenge. I want you to ask yourself that question and figure out what it is that you bring to the table, even if your identity is taken away. Because once you know your place in this world, once you know what you are meant to do and what makes you happy and what things you want to push forward into this world, regardless of what they write down about you on paper, then you can truly unlock some beautiful acts of service. Thank you so much, as always, for listening today. Be well as you walk through the rest of your day and the rest of your week and the rest of your week ahead. And as always, thank you for listening. I hope you've appreciated the message. Take great care. Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.